Hi guys, so today is day 3 of our Sermon on the Mount series, and I've done it a little bit differently today. I'm actually going to read the next section from the Message Bible. Sorry, Jacob. It just makes it a little bit more user-friendly to try to read. I'm going to be doing it in 2 stages, so I'm going to read the whole thing for today, but I'm going to explain half today and half tomorrow. So it says, "Don't suppose for a minute that I've come to demolish the scriptures, either God's law or the prophets. I'm not here to demolish, but to complete. I'm going to put it all together in a vast panorama. God's law is more real and lasting than the stars in the sky and the ground at your feet. Long after stars burn out and earth wears out, God's law will be alive and working. Trivialize even the smallest item in God's law, and you will only have trivialized yourself. But take it seriously, show the way for others, and you will find honor in the kingdom. Unless you do far better than the Pharisees in the matter of right living, you won't know the first thing about entering the kingdom." So that's quite jam-packed of lots and lots of information. It's a little bit confusing. So God's moral and ceremonial law were given to help people love God with all their hearts and minds, which is what Jesus says to us later on. But throughout Israel's history, however, the laws have been misquoted and misapplied. And by the time Jesus came along, religious leaders had turned all the laws into a confusing mass of just rules and rules and rules. When Jesus talked about a new way of understanding God's law, he was actually trying to bring people back to its original purpose. Jesus didn't speak against the law itself, but against the abuses and excesses to which it had been subjected. So if Jesus didn't come to abolish the law, does that mean that the Old Testament laws still apply? To answer that, you need to delve into a little bit more about the laws. There are 3 different types of law. There was ceremonial, civil, and moral. And the ceremonial law related specifically to Israel's worship, which is in Leviticus, and it's very specific of when you're making a sacrifice, you have to do it this way and that way, and you have to do it in this position. It's quite in depth. But its primary purpose wasn't to follow the rules and regulations, but was to point forward to Jesus. And the laws were no longer necessary after Jesus' death and resurrection. While we're no longer bound by ceremonial law, the principles behind them to worship and love a holy God still apply. Jesus was often accused by the Pharisees of violating the ceremonial law. Next, we have the civil law applied to daily living in Israel, and that's explained a little in Deuteronomy 24. Because modern society and culture are so radically different from that time and setting, these guidelines can't all be followed specifically, but the principles behind the commands are timeless and should guide our conduct. Jesus has demonstrated these principles by example. And the last one is the moral law, which you guys now know as the 10 Commandments. Is the direct command from God, and it does require strict obedience. The moral law reveals the nature and will of God, and it does still apply today. Jesus obeyed the moral law completely. He redefined it later on, as we know, by 2 commandments. But as long as you cover those 2 commandments, you follow the 10 Commandments. That's it for today, guys. I'll go into the rest tomorrow. Bye.